Hello students, this is Taranum Jahan and I'm here with you all people to start the new chapter from Geography. Okay, the chapter name is Agriculture. This is the fourth chapter from your Geography. Agriculture in India. 2/3 of India's population is engaged in agricultural activities. Agriculture is a primary activity which produces most of the food materials for various industries. India is the second in the world in crops output next to China. 1.4 million square kilometer of land in India is under cultivation. So under this chapter you are going to study in detail about the agriculture, that what are the various types of farming or a cropping pattern that we have been adopted and the major crops that we grow in India. And in the end you will know how much agriculture contributes to the national income, employment and output. So let's see agriculture chapter in detail. Types of farming. The cultivation method depends upon the characteristics of the physical environment, technological know-how and social culture practices. Farming varies from the subsistence to the commercial type. In different parts of India, the following farming systems are practiced, like primitive subsistence farming, intensive subsistence farming and commercial farming. So let's see each one of them in a detail. Primitive subsistence farming. This type of farming is practiced in a few pockets of India on a small patches of land, using primitive tools and labor. Farmers clears a patch of land and produce cereals and other food crops to sustain their families. When the soil fertility decreases, the farmers they shift and clear a fresh patch of land for cultivation. This type of shifting allows nature to replenish the fertility of the soil through natural process. Land productivity is low as a farmer does not use fertilizers or any other modern inputs on it. These are some of the different names by which the primitive subsistence farming is known as in the different places with the different names. Then the next one is intensive subsistence farming. It is practiced in the areas of high population pressure on land. It is labor intensive farming. Yield per hectare is high because high doses of biochemical inputs and irrigations are used over here. The size of the land holding is small and the uneconomic. Farmers take maximum output from the limited land by raising 2 to 3 crops in a year from the same land. That is, multiple cropping is practiced on this land. Then the third is commercial farming. In this, crops are mainly grown for commercial purpose. It is practiced on a large piece of land on a scientific and a commercial line using machines and modern technology. There is high use of modern agriculture inputs like high yielding variety seeds, fertilizers, irrigations, etc. The degree of commercialization varies from one region to another. Rice is a commercial crop in Punjab, while in Odisha it is subsistence crop. Example, plantation agriculture. Now what is plantation? Under plantation, a single type of crop is grown on a large area. Plantation is carried out on a large estate using a lot of capital intensive unit. Lot of migrant labor work is also required under this. The plantation has an interface of both the agriculture and industry. All the produce is used as a raw material in the respective industries, and the production is mainly for the market, that is commercial agriculture. Under plantation, we produce tea, coffee, rubber, sugarcane, banana, etc. Cropping pattern. India has 3 cropping seasons. They are Rabi, Kharif and Zaid. Now let's see what is Rabi, Kharif and Zaid. Rabi crops. Rabi crops are sown in winter, that is from October to December, and they are harvested in summer, that is from April to June. Important Rabi crops are wheat, barley, peas, gram and mustard. States such as Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand are mostly known for producing Rabi crops. The success of the Green Revolution in Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh and other parts of the India and the Rajasthan has been an important factor for the growth of Rabi crops. Kharif crops. Kharif crops are grown with the onset of monsoon in different parts of the country, and these are harvested between September to October. Important crops grown during this season are paddy, maize, jawar, moong dal, urad dal, cotton, jute, groundnuts and soya bean. Now what is Zaid crops? Zaid is grown in between the Rabi and the Kharif season. There is a short season during the summer month known as Zaid season. Important crops that are grown during the Zaid season is watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables and fodder crops. Major crops in India. A variety of food and the non-food crops are grown in different parts of India. Depending upon the variation in soil, climate and cultivation practices, major crops that are grown in India are rice, wheat, millets, maize and pulses. Altogether, these are grains which are being grown by India. Then comes the food crops other than grains which are grown by India. That is sugarcane, oil seeds, tea, coffee and horticulture crops. Other than this, the non-food crops which are grown by India are rubber, fiber crops, cotton and jute. Rice. Rice is the most important kharif crops of India. India holds the second position in the rice production after China. Cultivation of rice required the high temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and above, and the high humidity with a rainfall of 100 centimeters is required. Now have a close look at this map which shows the rice production in India. So what do you notice? We notice that the 4 major regions of the rice cultivation are here. If you see, the plains of North India and the plains of northeastern India, coastal areas, all the coastal areas which are being covered are the rice producing states, and the deltaic region, that is irrigated rice, is produced in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP and even in Rajasthan. Wheat. Wheat is the second most important cereal crop of India. It is a main food crop. Geographical condition in order to grow wheat is cool and moist growing season is required. Bright sunshine at the time of ripening. Rainfall around 50 to 75 centimeter, which is evenly distributed over the growing season, and we want a loamy soil in order to cultivate wheat. Now if you have a close look at the map, you can see that where the wheat are being grown. Wheat growing zones are the Ganga Satluj plain in northwest and the black soil region of Deccan. And see, wheat producing states, if you see the colored part, Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Millets. Millets are called as coarse grain. They have high nutritional value, important parts of diet for poor people. Example like ragi, jawar and bajra. Now let's see one by one what is ragi, what is jawar and what is bajra and where these crops have been grown. Ragi. Leading producer is Karnataka, followed by Tamil Nadu. Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Uttaranchal, Sikkim etc. are the most important region which produces ragi. Then comes your jawar. Maharashtra is the leading producer, followed by Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. Then the last is bajra. It is grown well on the sandy soil and shallow black soil. Rajasthan is the largest producer, followed by Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Haryana. Pulses. India is largest producer and the consumer of pulses in the world. Pulses are the major source of protein in a vegetarian diet. Major pulses that are grown in India are arhar, urad, moong, masoor, peas and gram. Pulses are mostly grown in the rotation with other crops so that the soil restores fertility. Major pulses producing states are Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. Now let's see the food crops other than grains. Under that, the first one is sugar cane. It is a tropical as well as a subtropical crop. It grows well in a hot and humid climate with a temperature of 21 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. An annual rainfall between 75 cm to 100 cm is required, and it can be grown on a variety of soil. Need manual labor from sowing to harvesting. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane only after Brazil. Sugarcane is the main source of sugar, gur, khansari and molasses. The major sugarcane producing states are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, Punjab and Haryana. So now tea. It is an important beverage crop introduced by the British in India. Because Indians were not having any idea regarding the tea. Britishers were the one who brought the idea of drinking tea and getting fresh. So the tea plant grows well in tropical and subtropical climates with deep and fertile, well-drained soil. That soil should be very rich in humus and organic matter. Tea bushes required warm and moist frost-free climate all throughout the year. Tea is a labor-intensive industry, and the major tea-producing states are Assam, hills of Darjeeling, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Coffee. Yemen coffee is produced in India, and this variety of coffee is in great demand all over the world. Its cultivation was introduced on the Baba Budan hills and is confined to the Nilgiri in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Now let's see horticulture crop. Now what is horticulture crop? India is a producer of tropical as well as temperate fruits. Major crops produced are pea, cauliflower, onions, cabbage, tomato, brinjal and potato. Some of the famous horticulture crops grown in India are mango, oranges, lychees and guava, pineapple, grapes, apple, pears, apricot, walnuts and so on. Mangoes of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal are very famous. Then the oranges of Nagpur and Cherrapunji, that is near Meghalaya. Bananas of Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Lychee and guava of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Pineapples of Meghalaya. Grapes of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Maharashtra. Apple, apricots and walnuts of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Now another non-food crop is rubber. It is an equatorial crop, but under special circumstances or a condition it is also grown in the tropical and subtropical areas. It requires moist and humid climate with a rainfall of more than 200 centimeter and the temperature is about 25 degrees Celsius. And it is mainly grown in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andaman and Nicobar Island and Garo hills of Meghalaya. Now let's see the consumption of natural rubber. Now you can see that under a pie chart, the major area which has been covered with a dark blue color shows that the rubber is used for auto tires and tubes. And in the same manner you can see that red, green and purple colors, it shows that how the rubber has been used by different industries for the different purpose, different use. So with this pie chart you can see the consumption of natural rubber. Fiber crops, cotton, jute, hemp and natural silk are the four major fiber crops that are grown in India. Rearing of silkworm for the production of silk fiber is known as sericulture. Cotton. It is a kharif crop, grows well in drier parts of the black cotton soil of Deccan Plateau. It requires high temperature, light rainfall or irrigation. 10 frost-free days and a bright sunshine for its growth is required. Major producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Technology and institutional reforms. Agriculture provides a livelihood for more than 60% of its population. So this sector needs some various technicians and institutional reform. The Green Revolution and the White Revolution were some of the reform initiated by the people in order to improve agriculture. So in order to improve the agriculture reform, government has taken many steps. Many reforms have been created by the government to improve the agricultural condition. So as I said already that in 1960 and 1990, technical reforms such as Green Revolution and the White Revolution was introduced in order to improve the condition of agriculture. In the same manner, in 1980 and 1990, various provisions for a crop insurance, establishment of Grameen banks, cooperative societies and the banks were providing loan facilities to the farmers at the lower rate of interest were introduced by the government. These were the few steps taken by the government in order to improve the condition of the farmers. In the same manner, various schemes were introduced by the government in order to improve the agricultural condition. Let's see what were the different schemes which was introduced by the government to improve the agriculture condition in India. Now the various steps are taken by the government in order to improve the agricultural condition and the condition of the farmers, where the first is the Kisan Credit Card. Personal accident insurance scheme was also provided by the government and some other schemes introduced by the government of India for the benefit of the farmers. Then moreover, special weather bulletins and the agricultural programs for the farmers were introduced on the radio and television. Then minimum support price and the remunerative and procurement prices for the important crops to check the exploitation of the farmers by speculator and middlemen. Bhudan and Gramdan. Now with the word itself you will understand what is Bhudan and Gramdan. If you break these words and see what is bhu. Bhu is nothing but land. Land donation. Dan is nothing but donation. Gram is nothing but, not pulses, villages. And Dan is nothing but donation. So land donation and village donation. Now how these words are related with this chapter? Let's see what exactly it is. What is the story behind Bhudan and Gramdan? So here there's one person, Vinoba Bhave. He is related with the story of Bhudan and Gramdan. Vinoba Bhave is one of the spiritual leader of Mahatma Gandhi. He was one of the most prominent social reformer. His ideal was to do something as per the opinion of Gandhiji. So he adopted the idea of Gram Swaragya and Padyatra. Gandhiji believed that if you want development, then you have to start from upside down. That is, first you have to develop the villages. Then only you can have a development in your country. So in order to spread this view, Vinoba Bhave, he adopted Padyatra. One day he went to Pochammapalli, somewhere in Andhra Pradesh this place is. So he was interacting there with the farmers. He was discussing about, like, now we got independence and now we have prepared our constitution. Now we'll have a smooth life. Our country will have a developed nation, and all these things were discussed by those people there in the Pochammapalli. So now what exactly happened there? So suddenly from those group of farmers, some landless farmers, they raised their voice. And they said that how can we have a development when we don't even have a land to cultivate? So they appealed him to provide them with a land so that they can cultivate on that land. Now Vinoba Bhave was not that rich person that the moment the landless farmers are shouting and he'll just provide the land. He said that, okay, I'll look after this issue. I'll go back and I'll speak to the central government, even my political leaders about the issue, and we'll take certain steps in order to resolve this issue and solve your problem. But there was one person sitting over there, and he was a rich person who was looking at all this interaction which was happening between the farmers and this Vinoba Bhave. So suddenly he got up and he said that, actually, what is his name? The person who was sitting over there, he was Sri Ram. So suddenly during the discussion, one person by a name Sri Ram Chandra Reddy, he stood and he announced that if I will give you 80 acres of a land to the landless 80 villagers, I will donate my land for the cultivation. So after listening to this, everyone was astonished that how come this person is giving us a land. He said that I am ready to donate my land. If you really want the development in our country, if you are really having a view of developing our country, then I am donating my 80 acres of land to the 80 landless farmer. That means 1 acre for each farmer. So now when this idea, this donation of this land is called as Bhudan. This was called as Bhudan, that is nothing but land donation. Now as this idea has spread, all the zamindars, they started offering, donated. As the idea spread, the zamindars, they started offering their villages owned by them to the landless farmers. They all distributed this. Now even the zamindars, they have taken the active step. Now even they started donating their land to the landless farmers. Now this is called as Gramdan. Now the zamindars, they are the owners of the complete villages. So they started donating the complete villages to the landless farmers. So donating the complete villages is called as Gramdan. So like this, the Bhudan and the Gramdan started. In this way, now why these zamindars were so anticipated in giving their land? See, anyhow after a few days, because after the independence, the government, they decided to have land reforms. Under this land reform, those who are having an extra land will be taken up by the government in order to cultivate, so that these landless farmers can be held by it. So now when this government will come and instead of scratching the land from us, snapping the land from us, better we donate them. So contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Agriculture provides employment to around 63% of our total population. However, the share of agriculture in our gross domestic product is declining. A decrease in the share of agriculture in our GDP does not mean that our agriculture output has decreased. It means that the growth in agriculture is slowing down and is much lower as compared to the growth in industries and services. The slowing down of growth in agriculture is generating fewer employment opportunities in this sector. The government set up institutions like the Indian Council of Agriculture Research and the Indian Agriculture Research Institute and several agriculture, veterinary and horticulture universities. The aim of this institution is to provide education and research and development facilities for the modernization and growth of agriculture in India. The government has developed better meteorological facilities for more dependable weather forecast and improved infrastructure in villages. Regardless of the above, farmers still face certain challenges in agriculture. One of the important steps in the Green Revolution in India was to make fertilizers available to the farmers at subsidized or reduced rates. The subsidy or the fertilizers has now been reduced and has increased the cost of production for the farmers. Contribution of agriculture to the national income, employment and output. In 2010 and 11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector. The share of agriculture in the GDP is declining day by day. Indian Council of Agriculture Research, agriculture universities, veterinary services and animal breeding centers, horticulture development research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast etc. are the few of the initiatives introduced by the government to improve Indian agriculture. Now let's see this table, the growth of GDP and the major sector. Now these are the three sectors. We are comparing each sector over here, how much they are contributing individually towards GDP. Now if you see the data of 2002 to 2007 of agriculture sector and compare it with the 2007 to 2012, you can see there is an increment, that is 1.7 to 3.2, then 3.2 to 4.0 and then 4.2. There is an increment in the agriculture sector. It is increasing and also contributing towards the GDP. But here if you compare with the other two sectors, that is industries and the services, when these two sectors are increasing rapidly, the same change of the increase in the agriculture sector cannot be seen. If you compare the other two sectors with the agriculture sector, agriculture is showing a slow increment than compared to the industries and the services. See the industries, it has been increased from 8.3 to 7.4, though there is a slight decrease, but again it has been increased to 9.6 to 10.9. So here industries has been taken a long jump than compared to the agriculture. In the same manner, services 9.0, 10.0, 10.0, 10.0. So it is showing an increment and even it is fulfilling the target what we are having. But here what agriculture, it is showing the increment but a slow increment, slow contribution towards the GDP. Now what is the reason behind this? Why agriculture is showing so slow increment than compared to the other two sectors? Now let us find out the reason behind this. Now let's see the reason behind why the agriculture sector is showing the slow increment in the GDP. Indian farmers, they suffer a lot with the competition of international food crops. Now why they are not able to compete? Because our quality is not good. We are not producing the desired quality. No, this is not the reason. Our quality is perfect. We are producing the desired quality. But what can be the reason then? Why agriculture is suffering? Why the farmers of agriculture are suffering? Whenever you go to the market, What all things you look as a consumer when you are buying a product? Quality and price. Here the quality is good, but the prices are high because the Indian farmers, they sell their product at high prices, but they are forced to do so. Why they are charging such kind of high prices? Because if we compare why there is an demand of international product than compared to the Indian product. Because see, when we see the international countries, there the farmers, whatever these people are growing, international product are supplying, the government there are very supportive to the international farmers. How they are supportive? They provide them subsidy. Now what is subsidy? That is the amount which is paid by the government to the Indian farmers for the production. So for example, if the farmers in the international countries, they are producing wheat for 100 rupees, 50 rupees will be paid by the government as a subsidy. And here the wheat production is only costing them 50 rupees. So now they can sell them in the market for 60 rupees, 70 rupees or 80 rupees. And when these prices are coming over here to the India, we feel that the international prices are less and we definitely buy the international products. In the same manner, if we compare to the Indian farmers, here when the Indian farmers are producing the 100 rupees wheat, and the subsidies which are provided by the government to the Indian farmers is just 20 rupees. So here how much it has been reduced? 80. Now even if they are charging, they have to charge for, in order to have a profit, they will definitely charge for the more prices so that they can even have a profit too, because the profit motive business, each and everyone will have a profit motive business. So even the farmers, they want to have a profit motive business. So here if this product wheat producing is costing them 80 rupees, they have to increase the price and sell them in the market. So now they are increasing the prices to again 100, which is already their production price. Even then they are not getting that product because we are charging, we are interested in buying the international product because it is costing us for 60 to 70 rupees, whereas the Indian wheat is costing us 100 rupees or 110 rupees. So it is high prices than compared to the international product. No doubt the quality is same, but the prices are different. So according to our pocket we are going to buy. So that is the main reason why the Indian farmers are suffering when the international products are being sold over here for the low prices. So somewhere or the other the government is responsible for this. And the next major reason for the reduction in the Indian farmers is, or for the reduction in the agricultural sector, we can see one more reason is we have opened our economy for everyone. All the international goods can be traded in our country, because of which the people, they are demanding more of international product because of they are having less price and the Indian products are having more prices. So if we reduce the economy for the international product, then definitely our products will have the more demand. If the international products are not coming to our country, then people will definitely buy the Indian product. But we have opened the economy for each and everyone to come and have a free trade over here. So even that is also the reason why the agricultural sector is not showing much increment in the GDP. Do this map work in your map books, or you can purchase the Indian map and there you can mark this, the various rice producing areas and the wheat producing areas.